Do you want to book an appointment with the traffic department so you can take your driver's license exam on your own? Do you need to do it in English and know which links you have to visit to be able to do it all by yourself? Well, stay tuned to this video because we're going to help you get it done. Let's go. Well, to be able to take the driving test on your own, book an appointment with the traffic department, and access the exam without needing a driving school to book it for you, it's important to know all the links where you should book, and also know what documents you need to bring to take that exam. First of all, we're going to see step by step how to do it yourself, and then in the description, I'm going to leave the links so you can directly access those bookings that need to be made first. Let's start with the first part. Before booking the appointment with the traffic department for the exam, it's important that we gather all the documentation that will be requested at that time. The first thing that will be requested from us will be the NIE and the passport. We should bring the original and a photocopy of both. Next, a medical certificate, the payment of a fee, number 2.1, which costs approximately 99 euros, and then you must complete an exam registration form. We're going to go through all of that now, step by step, so that it's very simple for you to be able to do this. But why do we want to do this registration on our own? Well, if you've trained with us for the driver's license in English, you could access. Taking the exam on your own, and then once you've passed, you can go to a driving school to take the lessons for the practical part. You already know that the theoretical driving test can be in English, but the practical lessons will usually be in Spanish. That's why it's important to have good training now for the theory part in English, since your exam can be taken that way. However, the practical part will depend a lot on the examiner, but usually, unless they want to help you out with a few words in English, it will be in Spanish. At that point, it's not as important. I do recommend, however, that you try to find a driving school where the instructor knows some English to help you out. But the important thing would be to get the theory part done first. Well, without further ado, let's go. Let's see how to do it on our own. Regarding the NIE and the passport, you already know that if you're a citizen of the European Union, your NIE is this green one, which must be presented with your national ID, your passport, and must be valid. In this case, you need both documents because the NIE for EU citizens doesn't have a photo, so we need either your country's valid ID card or a valid passport. All documents submitted to the traffic department must be valid. No expired documents will be accepted. If you're a non-EU citizen, you'll need to bring your NIE, which is the card that already has your photo on it, along with your passport. This way, with both valid documents and photocopies, we'll have that part of the process all sorted out. Second, the psychophysical aptitude report. What is this? This is a medical report issued by a medical center authorized by the traffic department. These medical centers are usually located near the traffic headquarters, but you can look them up online. Basically, they're private offices, so you'll have to pay about 30 euros for your medical certificate. And with this document you see on the screen, you can add it to the list of things needed to go to the traffic office with all the correct documentation. On this document, it's important to note the box highlighted in red, which is the medical center's registration number. It's not for any special reason, it's just that later, when we fill out the exam application, we'll need to have this number from the document. Okay, we have the medical certificate, we've paid and passed some very simple medical tests for things like reaction time, hearing, and vision. And with this document in hand, let's move on. We'll need to pay the fee. The fee of approximately 99 euros can be paid right at the traffic office on the same day you go for your appointment. It's very convenient to do it this way because paying online, while not hard, involves a slightly longer process that isn't worth explaining now, since you can just pay at the office with a bank card. It's very important to know that they do not accept cash payments. You must bring a card and have a 99 euro balance so they can process the payment right then and there. Now let's move on to the application part. Once everything is ready, we'd go to the application you see on the screen, and you'll need to fill in your personal details at the top, the applicant's info, right here where I've entered some data. Then, for the holder's address for notifications, enter your address in Spain, of course. And it's crucial that in the red boxes labeled Medical Center, you enter the number I mentioned earlier. If the center says you wear glasses, then you'd have to check the box where it says lenses. Then also at the bottom, which is also super important, you need to mark what type of permit or what type of passenger car you're going to want to drive. Whether you want to drive a vehicle or take the exam with a manual transmission vehicle, or if you want to get a license for an automatic vehicle. It's important that you check manual because in Spain, if you get your license with a stick shift car, you can drive them all. However, if you check automatic, when you take your driving test with an automatic car, your license would be restricted to automatic cars only. So if you want to get a license that works for everything, then the ideal thing would be to go with gears, with a manual gearbox. However, if you're maybe already drivers in your country and you know how to drive an automatic and never want a manual, you could choose automatic. And the most important part of the application is down here, where you have to check the box saying you want the exam in English. This is when you indicate it. So you put down that you want the exam in English, and that way, when you show up for your test, it will be in English. All right, moving down, there's nothing else to add except the date, and very importantly, print it out and sign it. This signature is also absolutely essential. Okay, so with this document, and I'll also put the link in the description so you can go directly and fill it out online. With this document, we'd have the final step or the last. The final requirement, we need to be able to go to the traffic office and request that appointment for the theory test. Got it? Remember, Me IE and passport, original and photocopy, both of them, so they can compare and see that it's authentic. A medical certificate from a medical center authorized by the traffic department. Payment of the fee, it's not required beforehand, but you do need to bring your card. And then the application form, which we'll have filled out and printed, 2 copies, so we can keep one as proof of submission. And with that, we'll have everything ready. All right, so now we have all the documentation to request our appointment for the exam. Let's see now where that appointment is requested. I've left the link here, as I mentioned before. You'll also find it in the description. I'll leave all these links for you, so you can go in directly and make it easy for yourself. Well, we're now on the DGT website to request appointments for the theory exam. It's important to make a small clarification so we don't get confused. What we're going to do right now is request an in-person appointment to hand in all our documentation, so that later the traffic office gives us a slot, a time, to go take the theory exam. Now, when we request an appointment, I don't want you to think we're booking an exam date. No, we're booking an appointment so they can take that paperwork in person, since the document submission process can't be done online. For that reason, we prepare the documentation first, which is something we've already done. And now we request an appointment for that in-person service, where they'll later give us an exam reservation, an exam date. All right, the first step, since we have the English language option on the DGT site, we're going to set it to English, and that way it'll be easier to understand. If your browser doesn't load it directly, we just hit F5. And try it again, please, once more. Okay, now we have it in English. Now we're going to scroll through until we see the option to select the center where we'll request that prior appointment. Here, I'm going to select just any center in Spain. Keep in mind that the formats, the screen interface, might change depending on the headquarters where you submit it. You'll also have the option to request it by phone. If you see that your provincial headquarters doesn't have the option I'm about to mention, you could call by phone and request it there, or go to the office in person to get an appointment. The ideal way is to do it online, since for the headquarters setup for online access, it's the only way to request a prior appointment. All right, let's select one at random, for example. Here, I'm going to select Badajoz, And this part here is very important, selecting the area I want to go to in order to request the appointment. I'll select drivers. It might happen that in some headquarters, this menu changes, and traffic exams might appear, it's possible, but normally these are the most common areas for requesting public service appointments. We'll select drivers and then click continue. Now it's already telling us that we're in drivers. Let's click here to get an appointment. Now on this other screen, it tells us we're at the headquarters we selected, its address, and here it's going to show us, it'll mark which prior appointments are available. So here, using the forward section, we'd see which prior appointments we can select. And once we see a day that works for us, we select it. Here, all the available prior appointments appear. We select it, and finally, we'd have to enter our name, our last name, our second last name if we have one, and our NIE. In this case, an email or a phone number is contact. And finally, book this appointment. Okay, once we have that appointment, we just have to go that day, at that time, to the headquarters we selected with all the documentation. With all the documentation we've saved that we had prepared beforehand. What will happen at that moment? Well, at the time of presentation, we'll have to pay the fee. We'll present the whole form, and if everything goes well, they'll give me an appointment for the theory test. For the theory test, you'll have to bring identification, your NIE, and your passport, so they know it's you. Taking the test, and when you go, the DGT will have your test ready in English. This is the process. So, well, if you liked it, give it a like, and see you in future videos where I'll try to help English speakers with the process of getting a driver's license. Driving Now, your online driving school.